Sincerity. This clarification video was personally recorded by a high-ranking official from the Lighthouse Nation. The video was quickly released online. We thought some might buy it. After all, the Lighthouse Nation still commands respect, and there are many in this world who blindly idolize it. The outcome, however, came as a shock to the Lighthouse Nation. The previous PRISM scandal had already subjected them to a public relations storm, and now a similar incident had occurred again. Even the lackeys they cultivated were utterly disillusioned. It's safe to say this clarification video has already lost all credibility in many people's eyes. The comments section was completely overrun. What garbage! Didn't you learn anything from the PRISM scandal? Now you claim to repent? Who knows if you'll just keep repeating the same mistakes? Don't even bother. It's hopeless. We've said it before, the Beacon Nation is a cancer on the world. Yeah, they should just vanish from this world sooner rather than later. When the Beacon Nation makes a promise, pigs might just fly. This country is utterly rotten. They steal people's privacy at will. Every citizen lives in a place with zero privacy and zero human rights. If I were an American, I'd just kill myself, huh? Honestly, people everywhere are under some level of surveillance. It's just that their own citizens face far more monitoring because the technology makes it easier to do. I'd love to know what Americans are feeling right now. Enough said. Anyone with a shred of decency couldn't stand by and watch the Lighthouse Nation run amok. The Lighthouse Nation initially tried to deploy troll armies to manipulate the comments sections. But the comments section itself was a major battleground. They couldn't possibly control it. Their posts were buried under a flood of new comments within seconds. The speed at which negative comments refreshed was terrifying. The Lighthouse Nation sank into despair. The situation had escalated far beyond their worst-case scenarios. Watching the online sentiment ferment and escalate, Zhang Yi wore a satisfied smile. This is satisfying. The Lighthouse Nation was accustomed to waging information warfare, stirring up turmoil across the globe. Now, the boomerang has come back to bite them. Let them taste the bitter flavor of being mired in a public relations storm. No restraint. Zhang Yi instructed global media to keep secretly pushing the narrative, exposing the Lighthouse Nation. On the Lighthouse Nation's side, one crisis followed another. Following the global media's actions, the journalists who had attended the press conference earlier finally finished writing their news articles and producing their video reports upon returning to their respective outlets. The result was what could have been contained before. This time, it was completely out of control. Around the world, media outlets of all sizes began frenetically reporting on the incident. After all, the scope of the damage is extensive. It touched nearly every industry. This time, the losses weren't confined to a single country or faction. It encompassed nearly everyone. To put it bluntly, the Lighthouse Nation has stirred up public outrage this time, including among its own citizens. And as is widely known, Americans are generally very privacy conscious. The result? Massive protests erupted across the country. In Jiazhou, hundreds of groups took to the streets in massive processions, demonstrating their grievances. Leaders waved the Lighthouse Nation flag. Under his leadership, the Fortunate Group continuously chanted slogans demanding explanations from the Lighthouse Nation's leadership. The number of participants in the protest continued to grow. Within just over 10 minutes, more and more passers-by joined in, swelling the crowd to thousands. Florida. The enraged crowd began smashing shop windows along the street or storming into various government buildings to rampage and destroy property. They vandalized public facilities. They spray-painted graffiti on walls expressing discontent with the government and voicing their protests. Some even went further. Engaged in $0 shopping at supermarkets. Shouts, roars, and panic screams filled the entire street. The entire city's order collapsed, becoming a haven for crime. Shangtun City. Passing vehicles were smashed and looted, while protest marches swelled to tens of thousands, bringing the city's entire transportation system to a complete standstill. The sound of horns blared continuously. Suddenly, flames from burning flags ignited vehicles. Against the backdrop of raging fire, the already chaotic city descended into even greater disorder. Everyone was venting their frustration. Of course, most were seizing the opportunity to retaliate, expressing their discontent with the leadership of the Lighthouse Nation. Regardless, chaos reigned within the Lighthouse Nation, utter chaos. Because it's not just these few cities, similar incidents have erupted everywhere, large and small. Collective strikes are the mildest form. On some university campuses, students openly defied authority, chanting various rebellious slogans. Black House. Bad news, Mr. President. Hundreds have gathered for a protest march in Jiazhou, demanding answers. Some have even openly burned the Lighthouse Nation flag. Serious protests have erupted in Shangdong City, New York, New Gold Mountain, and elsewhere. What? The gravity of the situation sent shockwaves through the entire Lighthouse Nation Congress. Urgent orders were immediately issued. Massive police forces, even military units, were dispatched to suppress the demonstrators nationwide. This led to direct confrontation between protesters and authorities, resulting in the first fatalities and hundreds of injuries. News of the events reached Obama and his team. Obama and his team were overwhelmed. They never imagined the situation would deteriorate to this extent. Looking back, they had to admit they'd lost this battle of public opinion and lost it completely. After all, this is the United States, the nation that excels at this very thing. In their own specialty. To be defeated by others. One can only imagine how they feel. It's just that the conditions weren't right. Otherwise, If conditions were even slightly more favorable, they would have launched a direct war against the Kingdom of Yaman. Chapter 100 Internal Conflict at the Lighthouse Kingdom. Too preoccupied with their own troubles, Franklin returned home with a gloomy expression, his mood growing increasingly sour the more he thought about it. He served the Lighthouse Nation. Yet, even he had become a major victim of this privacy breach. He knew, if one dug deep enough into this matter, it might unearth something all citizens of the Lighthouse Nation would find unbearable. After much deliberation, he decided to write down the truth and make it public. Half an hour later, Franklin recorded a video of himself. In the video, he detailed how he had been instructed by superiors to smear the Kingdom of Yaman at the press conference and how, over the years, how the Lighthouse Nation had secretly pressured to fabricate negative public opinion about other nations. He also detailed how they had personally threatened him. He demanded comprehensive coverage of these events. He aims to expose the shameless face of the Lighthouse Nation to the uninformed public. The result? The Lighthouse Nation already in dire straits, with Franklin himself stepping forward to provide definitive proof. The reputation of the Lighthouse Nation became even more precarious. I knew it. I wonder how many underhanded things the Lighthouse Nation has done behind our backs. What the media wants the public to see is precisely what the Lighthouse Nation wants you to see. It's terrifying. This world seems utterly devoid of credibility. It's not that there's no credibility, it's that the Beacon Nation has none. All I know is this country is utterly rotten to the core. As a citizen of the Lighthouse Nation, I am genuinely ashamed. Is this what they call freedom and equality? The land of the free slogans sound utterly ridiculous at this moment. With Franklin's exposure, the already tarnished reputation of the so-called Beacon Nation faces even greater public backlash. Dragon Nation. After seeing the online content, Zhao Sheng urgently contacted the Kingdom of Yaman. Zhang Yi, I never would have guessed you'd pull off something this big without telling me beforehand. Ha, it was just a minor matter. Trivial? Zhao Sheng chuckled. This time, Zhang Yi caused the entire public opinion pressure from the Lighthouse Nation to collapse, turning it into a global laughingstock. This is no small matter. The internal protests and demonstrations alone will be more than enough to keep them busy. You're being too modest. The Beacon Nation absolutely despises you now. You'd better be careful from here on out. When he first heard Zhang Yi had arrested a large number of multinational investors from the Kingdom of Yaman, Zhao Sheng assumed Zhang Yi was preparing for a major cash grab, seeking only immediate gains, lacking foresight and grand strategy. Later, he learned it was actually to apprehend spies and to extract such explosive information from them. He didn't need to guess. What must the Lighthouse Nation's high command be feeling now? But this time, Zhang Yi had struck at the very foundation of the Lighthouse Nation. Severe retaliation was inevitable. His call was a warning to Zhang Yi to be cautious. The Lighthouse Nation still possessed considerable strength. The Kingdom of Yaman had only recently been established. He fears something might happen to Zhang Yi. Rest assured, thank you for the warning. Zhang Yi had certainly considered this. By the way, regarding this matter, if the Dragon Nation has the means, could you help spread the word? Given the Dragon Nation's standing internationally, promoting it, it'll only make the Lighthouse Nation feel even more desperate about how they're handling this. Absolutely no problem. Zhao Kong generously agreed. After all, dealing with the Beacon Nation is everyone's responsibility, it's only right. Zhang Yi didn't mention it, but he'd have to make arrangements for the follow-up. After all, the Beacon Nation never misses an opportunity to stir up trouble. Only when the flames lick at their own doorstep, other nations could enjoy a moment's peace. If he could, Zhao Sheng would have loved to see this fire burn on and on, never stopping. By the way, has old Su been in touch with you? Zhao Sheng changed the subject. No, why? Well, Longwei is preparing to host an important conference soon. They might invite you to attend, so start getting ready. Don't worry, this meeting will be beneficial for you. A meeting? Yes. They'll extend the invitation to you under diplomatic auspices. Alright, I'll be there. Zhang Yi agreed immediately. Visiting my own country under the guise of an interview sounded rather intriguing. Though he didn't know the specifics, Zhao Tsung's assurance that it would benefit Yaman was enough. After chatting briefly with Zhao Sheng, no sooner had he hung up than Su Jinghua, the venerable Mr. Su, contacted Zhang Yi. He extended an invitation for a diplomatic visit. Zhang Yi accepted immediately. By the way, Zhang Yi, how do you plan to handle the spy issue? Su Jinghua posed a crucial question. There's no way we can let them return to the Lighthouse Nation. I plan to keep extracting information from them bit by bit. Once they've served their purpose, we'll either execute them or figure out another solution. Very well. After what happened, even if you let them go, I doubt anyone would want to return to the Lighthouse Nation anyway, huh? Old Su chuckled warmly. Take Heracles, for instance. The Lighthouse Nation must despise him to the core by now. What awaits Heracles if he returns? Being skinned and dismembered would be the best outcome. So he absolutely cannot go back. And other nations? Most have ties to the Lighthouse Nation, going there would just get him handed over. For now, the Kingdom of Yaman has become Hercules' best option. At least in Yaman, Zhang Yi wouldn't touch him for the time being. Except for Hercs. The same applies to other spies. Because the Lighthouse Nation would suspect they too had leaked certain intelligence, they won't let them off easily. Old Su, if you guys think this guy has any use later on, I could send him over. Squeeze every last drop of value out of him. Keeping him alive or killing him is no better than handing him over to the Dragon Nation. Might as well go with the flow and do them a favor. Ha, that works. Since Jiang Yi had spoken, Su Jinghua didn't refuse. Keeping such an important figure locked up would suffice. The goal is to keep the Lighthouse Nation on edge. Coordinate with the Dragon Nation. Dragon Nation media, go all out. Obama and other high-ranking officials felt their hearts sink halfway. They knew the United States' public opinion pressure was completely out of control. As for why the Dragon Nation suddenly launched this campaign? No need to guess. It must be Jiang Yi pulling strings behind the scenes. This was too much. Obama helplessly tossed his phone onto the desk, leaning back into his ergonomic chair. He knew he couldn't just sit idly by. But he was truly at a loss. The only glimmer of good news was the recent report that chaos in some areas had been suppressed. There were casualties. Fortunately, they were within acceptable limits. The next step was to calm public sentiment and prevent the situation from escalating further. Additionally, we must create other events. Redirect public attention. Habit entered the office from outside, snorting coldly with a grim expression. The Lighthouse Nation is currently preoccupied with its own affairs and has no capacity to discipline Yemen. But this matter won't be left unresolved. Chapter 101, Diplomatic Recognition List, Breaking Through the Stalemate. President Obama, preparations for the reckoning can begin. We'll soon release some compromising material on Zhongdong to divert attention. Once the storm passes, we'll settle accounts with the Yemen Kingdom. Habib claimed to be a high-ranking official of the Lighthouse Nation. His true identity, however, is that of an Italian-American. He joined the Lighthouse Nation and became a senior counselor there. It was Yisili who recommended him. The purpose? To strengthen exchanges and cooperation between the Lighthouse Nation and Yisili. This incident, it can be said to have thoroughly enraged Habib and the entire Yisili leadership. A propaganda war. To suffer such a crushing defeat at the hands of Jiang Yi, this is a disgrace, a major disgrace for Yisili. All those years of strategic planning. In the media sphere, who knows how much capital and effort had been poured in. Finally, they had woven an invisible, global internet giant web. And yet, Jiang Yi, who had only recently emerged into the public eye just a few months ago, utterly dismantled it. This is something no one can accept. As for the riots and protests erupting across the country due to Jiang Yi exposing their secrets, well, that goes without saying. I know. Obama propped his chin on his hands, looking utterly defeated. The success of the Yemen Kingdom ultimately stemmed from that Dragon Nation leader being too extravagant. Solve him, and the Yemen Kingdom would be nothing to fear. Habib's eyes lit up. You mean we should execute the decapitation plan? Eliminate that man? Yes. Any specific plans? Not yet, but I'll consider it. Besides, I've discussed this with others, and most agree. Very well. I support it too. Let me know if you need any help. I'll handle the contact with Yisili. Obama nodded. Right. Internally, we'll classify this decapitation operation as a counter-terrorism mission and execute it with the highest priority. Habib heard this. His eyes weren't filled with excitement. Instead, his eyes burned with fervor. In his view, Obama's previous actions had been signs of weakness. For instance, supporting the establishment of the Yemen Kingdom. This had created such a massive hidden threat. Moreover, after the subsequent falling out, his attitude toward the Yemen Kingdom remained equally weak. If it were him, he would have long since commanded the military to launch a full-scale crackdown on the Kingdom of Yemen. Now, however, Obama has elevated the execution of Jiang Yi to the highest priority for the Lighthouse Nation. Finally, he got to see Obama and stand his ground for once. Obama was absolutely right. Looking at the history of the Yemen Kingdom's development, Yemen's inherent strength is a pile of nothing, utterly insignificant. Even the government forces led by Hadi could keep the Hushi forces in check. It was Jiang Yi who truly transformed the Hushi forces into the current Yemen Kingdom. Only by eliminating Jiang Yi can they reclaim their position and influence in Zhongdong. I understand, Charles. Thank you for the warning. The Kingdom of Yemen. Charles summarized the recent situation in Jiang Yi's office. Finally, he cautioned Jiang Yi to be extremely careful in the coming days. This time, the commotion has been far too great. The Lighthouse Nation will inevitably harbor resentment, and next, the Kingdom of Yemen will face the Lighthouse Nation's frenzied retaliation. Charles particularly emphasized the personal safety of Jiang Yi. Your Majesty, if there's nothing further, I'll take my leave. Preparations for your visit to the Dragon Kingdom are underway. Once the details are confirmed with them, I'll notify you of the schedule. After Charles finished speaking and received Jiang Yi's permission, he withdrew. Speaking of the visit, Jiang Yi recalled. According to convention and international protocol, now that the Kingdom of Yemen has been formally established, it was customary to conduct a series of visits to each country that had established diplomatic relations with the Kingdom of Yemen. Promoting international exchange was one aspect. Jiang Yi had also long desired to conduct a basic survey and understanding of countries around the world. Seeing things firsthand would surely provide a more accurate sense of reality than data on paper. Jiang Yi had someone prepare a list. A list of nations that had established diplomatic relations with the Kingdom of Yemen, intending to visit each one in turn. As for the first stop, he still planned to arrange it in the Dragon Nation. The Dragon Nation now held immense global influence and commanded a vital position in key international markets. Amidst the joint boycott and sanctions imposed on the Yemen Kingdom by the Lighthouse Nation and the Western powers backing it, Jiang Yi sought to develop The only viable partner for cooperation was the Dragon Nation. Other nations either possessed markets too small to sustain the Kingdom of Yaman's growth. On the other hand, they lacked sufficient strength. Even if cooperation were established, the Lighthouse Nation loomed as a covert threat, making it possible for these nations to terminate their agreements with the Yaman Kingdom at any moment. Jiang Yi didn't want to waste energy on this, nor did he want to take that risk. Not long after, the list of countries seeking diplomatic relations was submitted. Quite a few, actually. Over 20 nations had already confirmed their intent to establish ties. Several others had submitted applications to establish diplomatic relations with Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi hadn't had time to approve them yet. He'd handle them later. Jiang Yi murmured. The rest of the afternoon was spent waiting for the Dragon Kingdom to finalize the itinerary. Finally, around 10 o'clock at night, Jiang Yi logged into the game. He received an invitation from Longwei for a visit scheduled 1 month later. Just right. Not too long, not too soon. Before heading there, Jiang Yi would have ample time to prepare thoroughly. A bujul. Jiang Yi summoned a bujul. Regarding my visit to the Dragon Kingdom, you may discreetly leak some information to the outside world, letting them know about it. Your Majesty, this. Abujilai expressed his concern. If word gets out, especially to the Lighthouse Nation and the Yisili region, it could put you in a precarious position after your departure. Both nations are practically seething with hatred toward Jiang Yi. Let them know. They will absolutely take covert action such as ambushing you along the way. If Jiang Yi meets with misfortune, it will be disastrous. Don't worry, Jiang Yi replied. That's exactly what I want. Ha ha. Jiang Yi flashed a meaningful smile. They want to kill me? I'll give them their chance. Whether they seize it or not is up to their own fate. So what if they know? What difference does an ambush make? Jiang Yi was actually relieved he'd been struggling to find a reason to declare war on them. That junk equipment from the Lighthouse Nation. Their top fighter, the F-35, had already shown its worth last time and wasn't even in the same league as the Caliban fighters. If they dared to come, Jiang Yi would make sure they never returned. Moreover, since they initiated the attack, this already violated international regulations and contravened global norms. Afterward, Jiang Yi would have every right to carry out decapitation strikes against their nation's leaders and commanders. You started this. Don't blame me. Yes. Though the Kingdom of Yaman and the Lighthouse Nation, along with numerous other countries, have now openly turned against each other, no direct conflict has erupted between them thus far. Even on the Yisili front, both sides have temporarily fallen silent. Jiang Yi now needs a reason to break the current deadlock. The Lighthouse Nation craves conflict, craves war. But in Jiang Yi's view, the chaotic situation might not necessarily be a bad thing for the Kingdom of Yaman. Was not necessarily a bad thing. Chapter 102, the new fighter jet makes its debut. Jiang Yi's command. Abujilai had no choice but to comply. He merely reminded Jiang Yi to prioritize his personal safety. For no one understood better than Abujil. The prosperity of the Yaman Kingdom today was entirely brought about by Jiang Yi. As the core of this nation, anyone could meet with misfortune. Except Jiang Yi. Abujil instructed his men to release news of Jiang Yi's visit to the Dragon Kingdom. News of such magnitude reached all nations. They quickly took notice. Zhongdong Nation showed little reaction, their interest stemming merely from curiosity. It seemed the relationship between the Yaman Kingdom and the Dragon Kingdom were stronger than they had imagined. As for other Western nations, they sensed something amiss. Jiang Yi's visit to the Dragon Nation was likely more than just a simple diplomatic call. With such frequent exchanges between the two sides, perhaps something is brewing, a plan targeting them. Since it was just a rumor, Jiang Yi had merely instructed Abdullah to release the information tentatively, without confirming its accuracy. The authenticity of this matter remains to be verified by various nations. This approach, Jiang Yi intended to whet their appetite, with the real news to follow later. On the Dragon Nation's side, once the matter was confirmed, they had already planned to help Jiang Yi conceal it, ensuring his visit proceeded without incident. But unexpectedly, Jiang Yi went and exposed it himself. Rest assured, old Su. I have my reasons for doing this. Mr. Su Jinghua, old man Su himself, personally called to verify whether any link in the chain had failed. Only then did Jiang Yi reveal the truth. You. Ha ha. Su Jinghua chuckled. You really are bold. If they actually take action, I fear you won't be able to handle it. No worries, Mr. Su. Jiang Yi's tone remained calm. If they come, I won't let them off easy. Besides, if it really comes to blows, it might not be all bad for us. I can outlast them. A few words. Su Jinghua fell silent. Deep down, he admired Jiang Yi's audacity. For he was facing the world's most powerful nations. If it were anyone else, might not have dared to act this way. Even if he put himself in their shoes, he wouldn't make such a risky decision. It could very well have cost lives. No matter how formidable Jiang Yi was, he remained human, and humans inevitably die. Thus, the fear of death was instinctive. But Jiang Yi didn't seem to share that fear. Alright then. By the way, we'll dispatch a squadron of fighters to escort you. Better to be safe than sorry, don't you think? These words warmed Jiang Yi's heart. Being valued felt pretty good. They were even preparing fighter jets to welcome him. Few people receive such treatment. That's too much of a fuss. No need. Jiang Yi declined. My side can handle it. I forgot to mention, old Su, we've been developing a new fighter jet recently. It's already in the testing phase. Perfect for putting them through their paces. A new fighter jet? Su Jinghua couldn't contain his excitement upon hearing this. A fighter jet? You just cobbled it together like that? Yes. Zhang Yi was referring to a fighter jet he'd set his sights on long ago in the prestige store. Compared to the Caliban fighter, this new fighter boasts superior performance, especially in stealth capabilities. It's a whole tier above the Caliban. At the time, redeeming this fighter required a significant amount of prestige points. Zhang Yi couldn't afford the required prestige points, which is why it's been delayed until now. This matter would be announced sooner or later, so it was better to reveal it now to prevent the Dragon Nation from being too surprised later. Shocking the Western nations would suffice. Alright. Su Jinghua swallowed hard, genuinely stunned. Where on earth did Zhang Yi find all these talented people? Where did he get the production lines? How could they develop a fighter jet so quickly? Even the model that debuted at the founding ceremony, the one that utterly outclassed the Lighthouse Nation's F-35, had already seemed outrageously advanced. This new fighter jet. Could it possibly be even more outrageous than that one? Su Jinghua was secretly astonished but refrained from asking further questions, as fighter jets involved top-level state secrets. As a key leader of the nation, he understood the unspoken rules. Questions that shouldn't be asked unless the other party volunteered the information, it was best left unasked. Unless the Dragon Nation had bargaining chips to trade for this fighter jet's data. But the problem was, there wasn't. In the short term, Longhua couldn't produce it. After chatting with Su Jinghua for over half an hour, security concerns. Because Zhang Yi had refused his proposal to dispatch fighter jets for escort. Su Jinghua therefore decided on the spot to personally arrange a relatively safe route for Zhang Yi. The route would prioritize passing through Allied airspace. Simultaneously, before Jiang Yi's departure, arrangements were made to coordinate with these allied nations to ensure their cooperation. This was to prepare for any unforeseen circumstances. Zhang Yi was visiting Longhua. If danger arose during the journey, they would bear responsibility. It simply wouldn't do. Zhang Yi agreed to this arrangement. Fortunately, the airspace issue spared him the need to arrange it himself. Negotiating with other nations is exhausting. Handing it over to Longhua to handle was the best solution. Not long after, Su Jinghua's team sent over an aviation route map. Just follow this route when you fly over, and there shouldn't be any issues. Alright, thank you, Mr. Su. No need for formalities between us. Su Jinghua waved his hand dismissively. That would be too formal. It's the least we can do. Outside, as the news spread further and wider, Zhang Yi remained completely silent, offering no direct rebuttal. The Lighthouse Nation and Yisili gradually began to take notice. However, high-level officials on both sides were not in agreement. The Yisili faction saw this as a golden opportunity to execute their decapitation plan. But representatives from the Lighthouse Nation, led by Obama, believed this was likely just a smokescreen. Otherwise, how could such a highly classified matter be leaked so easily? Both sides remained deadlocked. The situation reached an impasse. This even led to a heated argument. After all, Yisili hated Zhang Yi with a passion. Having finally seized this opportunity, he couldn't let it slip away. And just as the two sides were locked in a heated argument, Zhang Yi was leisurely browsing his phone. Browsing the second-generation fighter jet from Yamen Kingdom, set to debut alongside the Caliban fighter. This fighter jet. Zhang Yi had been eagerly anticipating it. Wind Shadow Fighter. Exchange price 800 prestige points. Exchange period 24 hours. First redemption includes a complimentary ace fighter pilot. A single Wind Shadow Fighter costs a whopping 800. Back in the day, exchanging for a few would have bankrupted Zhang Yi. But today is different. All the recent major incidents have brought in huge rewards each time. His total prestige points now approach the 100,000 mark. At 800 per unit, the price was entirely acceptable. After a moment's thought, Zhang Yi exchanged 10 units at once from the prestige store. Exchange required prestige points 8,000. Confirm? Zhang Yi placed his thumb on the confirmation button and pressed it down. Chapter 103, Wind Shadow Fighter. Zhang Yi slaps the clown in the face. Ding! Congratulations on successful redemption. You have obtained 10 Wind Shadow Fighters, and the system has gifted you 10 ace pilots. Because those who pilot fighters are all super talents. If purchased independently, the cost of 10 pilots would be no small sum. The system's gift. Zhang Yi felt like he'd hit the jackpot. Zhang Yi opened the warehouse. Inside were Part 10 decommissioned Wind Shadow Fighters. Zhang Yi clicked again. A 3D dynamic rendering of the foaming fighter appeared on the phone screen. The sleek, sharp lines of the fuselage appeared as if meticulously carved by an artist. The silver-white metallic shell. It emitted a cold, crisp luster. Under the indoor lighting, it now shimmered with a mysterious sci-fi glow. Its nose resembled a razor-sharp spike, while its wings spread like those of a soaring eagle, exuding a distinctly futuristic texture. The overall impression it conveys is an indescribable sense of sophistication. Many sci-fi fighter jets from movies and TV shows would likely pale in comparison to this foaming before his eyes. For the first time, Zhang Yi truly grasped the meaning of the word sophistication. He now understood its true meaning. He couldn't wait to have a pilot climb aboard one and see how it performed. The foaming fighter activated. The tail nozzles flashed with a deep blue glow as powerful air currents surged forth, propelling the massive, multi-ton fuselage out of the hangar and soaring skyward. A dazzling trail of light streaked behind its tail. Awesome! So cool. Especially the roar of the fighter jet, thunderous and awe-inspiring. Sports cars? They're nothing compared to this. If he could take this thing out for a spin, Jiang Yi couldn't even imagine how many heads it would turn. No, should I say blow the sky away? He chuckled darkly. Though he'd reviewed the Fengying fighter's specs countless times, Jiang Yi clicked them open once more. The Fengying fighter and the Caliban fighter. Similar in size. Length, 22 meters. Wingspan, 15 meters. Height, 5 meters. Empty weight, 20 tons. Maximum takeoff weight, 45 tons. The Wind Shadow fighter's prowess lies in its array of high-tech systems. Take its propulsion system, for instance. It features two new high thrust-to-weight ratio vectoring turbofan engines, delivering exceptional power output and high reliability, enabling the fighter to rapidly accelerate to hypersonic speeds in a short time. Its maximum speed exceeds that of the Caliban fighter by 0.7 Mach, or 0.7 times the speed of sound. Its standard cruise speed also surpasses the Caliban's by 0.5 Mach. Yet the Wind Shadow's greatest strength lies not in these attributes. Its true strength lies in its unique stealth capabilities. Its distinctive diamond-shaped fuselage, swept twin vertical tails, and internal weapons bays drastically reduce its radar cross-section. The airframe is coated with advanced radar-absorbing materials that effectively absorb and scatter radar waves. This renders its radar cross-section nearly negligible. Under these conditions, the probability of radar detection by the Lighthouse Nation and Italy for the Wind Shadow fighter is zero. Its weapon systems are even more formidable. It carries air-to-air missiles with a maximum range exceeding 400 kilometers, precision-guided air-to-ground missiles, and a naval cannon capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute. It also possesses the most advanced electronic pulse bombs. Once deployed, can instantly cripple all enemy electronic systems, turning them into scrap metal. Other high-tech features such as active phased array radar, electronic warfare systems, electro-optical targeting systems, and data link systems need not be elaborated upon. Any single one of these technologies could easily outclass existing human capabilities. With this kind of technology, Jiang Yi truly couldn't fathom. How could he possibly lose? The only disadvantage was likely the limited quantity, just 10 units. But the superior performance of the Fengying fighter more than compensated for that. A few days later, online discussions were buzzing about whether Jiang Yi would actually visit the Dragon Nation. Countries like the Lighthouse Nation and Italy had been conducting covert investigations non-stop. Most netizens, however, dismissed it as fake news. The reason was simple. Jiang Yi had just done something that infuriated the United States. For quite some time, he must guard against retaliation from the Beacon Nation. It's impossible for him to make such a high-profile, blatant visit to the Dragon Nation. Forget traveling all the way to the Dragon Nation from Yamen. If he dared step half a step outside Yamen's borders and still dared return, I consider him a man of substance. Does he have the guts? Forget it. He'd never leave Yamen unless he's suicidal. If he dares leave Yamen, I'll eat my own standing on my head. Ha! To provoke the Beacon Nation like that, does he really think they're a joke? He'll definitely stay put in Yamen like a turtle from now on. Why would he come out to get himself killed? All I can say is, the world is vast and nothing is impossible. Online, you always get to witness the full spectrum of human behavior. At the same time, one can't help but marvel. The Lighthouse Nation's remote farming technology other countries will likely never catch up in their lifetime. No wonder. Jiang Yi's actions over the past 2 months have been far too high profile. Who knows how many people's myths of the Lighthouse Nation's invincibility he's shattered. Resentment toward Jiang Yi was only natural. After all, what Jiang Yi shattered alongside those dreams was their own beacon of hope. Online, the attention surrounding this incident keeps growing. Seeing that the anticipation had been sufficiently whipped up, Jiang Yi decided to make an announcement. He explicitly stated he would be visiting the Dragon Kingdom. Upon receiving the news, they also released a news statement welcoming Jiang Yi's visit. Netizens instantly erupted. Jiang Yi, you actually dare to make a move at this time? Does he not fear retaliation from the Lighthouse Nation? Wow, he's actually going through with the visit? With things so sensitive lately, isn't he afraid of retaliation from the US? Yeah, I thought the news was fake. He'd never dare visit. Turns out it's real, and he even admitted it himself? Is he suicidal? Hilarious. Remember all those claims that he'd never dare leave the US? Where are those people now? What about the one who said he'd eat upside down? Hope you keep your word, buddy. A Dragon Nation citizen visiting Dragon Nation? Ha! Interesting. This seems no different from just going home. Remember all the bluster before? Claiming Jiang Yi could only hide like a turtle, too scared to leave Yamen. Jiang Yi has thoroughly humiliated them. Facing nationwide ridicule, they'd become nothing but a bunch of clowns. And the one thing Dragon Nation netizens are most eager to see. All evidence points to one thing. The king of Yamen is indeed a Dragon Nation citizen. Now visiting Longwa. Wouldn't they just slap on a red scarf and belt out my Dragon Nation heart right there? This generation of netizens sure has a dark sense of humor. It's just too dramatic. No one could have imagined how a Dragon Nation native would lead the Huxia forces to turn the tide of war and single-handedly establish the present-day Yamen kingdom. On the day the news broke, the Lighthouse Nation was particularly interested. Finally receiving concrete confirmation, they suddenly felt a sense of relief. They sensed the scent of imminent vengeance. A group gathered immediately to discuss a decapitation strike. Chapter 104, No Fighter Escort? It's because you can't detect it. Yisili. Luwan located the chief of Mossad's intelligence division and issued a direct order. I don't care how you do it, but you must obtain his flight path.